Hi guys. Last week I showed you how I came up with some of the alien plants for Asteroid Acres. Well, today this plant is getting a colony. This is the first building I've finished for this game, and I thought I'd do something a little different for this devlog to show you how I went from an idea to this finished pixel art. So the first thing we need is a concept to work from. Right now I'm working in Procreate and on my iPad. Basically what I do is I go online and I start kind of looking at images of buildings, especially space buildings, sci-fi buildings, and start figuring out what I want to do. Here I'm just kind of sketching out a small building on a platform. And as I start building it, I'll figure out portions as I go along. You can see here that I'm going to be resizing this building to be a little bit bigger. I felt that it was a little bit too small. So after doing this building, I'm going to go on to the building that I actually create. Here, I'm creating a headquarters for the colony. I figured I want something fairly large with a big bay window, and that's what I'm sketching here. Again, I'm doing these kind of like angular corners, and I start drawing the doors. This door right here is a little bit too small compared to the other one, but again, everything can be resized. So once I get this concept locked down, I move to Resprite to actually start tracing over this. Back in Resprite, I bring in my reference image of my concept, and then I have to resize and move it so that it matches my character. So what I like to do is I like to use the door as a guide, and then once the door is in place, I will start laying out my lines for the outer edges. So right here you can see that I'm like basically tracing over the image. You don't have to worry about your image having the best straight lines. It's basically just for a guide. So here I am just figuring out the shapes. I usually do the left side, and then if there's something that's mirrored, I'll just mirror it afterwards. No sense in doing double the work. If there's multiple windows, I'll usually start with one window and then I'll trace that, and then I'll copy paste for the rest of the windows. So here you can see that this is almost the finished line work. I'm going to take this smaller piece of the building and copy and paste it on a different layer and then mirror it over so that I don't have to do the work twice. I'll clean up some of the line work, and once I do that, it's time to start filling things in. I will duplicate the line work and put it on a new layer, and then below that I will start filling in the shapes. That way I have the line work saved just in case. Once I fill it in, I will hue shift to a darker color, and then I'll start shading the right side. Depends on whatever lighting you have for the game, but for me it's left to right. So I'll be shading those areas, and then I hue shift to a lighter color, and I'll start putting the top and left colors in. Once I do that, I will start filling in things like the trim that's on the bottom of the building. I figured a darker gray would be nice contrast. And then I will start adding the slight edge bevels, and that's going to be a lighter color. That just, catches the light from the light to the left. As you work, you want to do lighter in the lighter spots, and then as you go into the shaded spots, you want to get a little bit darker because you don't want to have the same highlights everywhere. Here I'm adding some details just to add some more flourish. Here, because this trim piece is a little bit thicker, I'm creating top-down lighting so that it looks more believable. Then after all this is done, then I start adding details. Here I realized that I could probably add a little bit lighter color to the angles because that's where the light will hit the first. So I add that, then I start adding a little bit of this detail on the roof, just to give it more depth. I will add a little bit of a shadow from the lighting to the left just to give it some more depth as well. Again, here I add brighter highlights because that's the brightest part of the edge. Now you can see more of the finished product here. I've added rust spots and dirt, a lot of details like trim pieces with highlights, this satellite, and some vents, things like that. This is pretty much my process. You don't want to over render sometimes. You just want to, like, add detail where detail is needed. And here you can see I've added shadow because shadow is good to ground your object. So after finishing my building, I noticed that it seemed a little drab and not very vibrant. So I decided to adjust things, add a little bit of brightness, contrast, and some saturation. Depending on what your art direction is, if you have something that's more of a muted palette, you can go for that. My palette is a little bit more saturated, so that's the way I want to go. So basically, I just did the brightness, contrast, and now I'm going to be doing the saturation. And remember, when it comes to saturation, a little goes a long ways. So I only added like a boost of 3, and it added just a little bit of color. This is basically the final building. If you like what you see here, please like this video and subscribe if you want to see more.